Alright guys, I know it's been a while, work has gotten unexpectedly busy, and on top of that my graphics card decided to shit the bed, essentially forcing me to wait before I could even consider recording and editing content. Because barely reaching 40 frames on a laptop on low settings wasn't gonna cut it. So to make it up to you guys, I'll be giving away 5 $10 multi-buck codes. All you need to do is subscribe, like this video, and let me know in the comments what your favorite class and specialization is when playing World Tour. I'll be announcing the winners at the end of the month. So most of us know the Dematerializer is one of the top choices for the medium class, but after playing as a solo for 98% of my time in the finals, I've realized that a lot of players have a surface level understanding on how to use it specifically in engagements, and don't quite know how to maximize its strengths as a solo queuer to significantly increase their chances of winning. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down my gameplay in World Tour, getting in-depth explanations of the decisions I make in the heat of the moment. So without further ado, let's jump into it. When challenging for the vault at the spawn, there are 2 common entrances where the enemy will engage you. The first is the door to the right, and the other is the door right in front of me, which I like to call the flanking door, because it is typical where players like to flank from shortly after the team starts the initial engagement. So what I generally like to do is utilize a goo to block off that point of entry and give my team less variables to worry about. Now this isn't a foolproof way to negate a flank, because the opposing team may be using Dematerializer as well, or one of the many breaching methods the finals has to offer. But nonetheless, it will cause them to make some type of noise or cue at the very least in order to get through, allowing your team to somewhat be aware and to at least have the opportunity to counter. I also had to throw a goo in the other room, which I don't normally do, but it provided my teammate that is rushing in there a little bit of cover so that he wouldn't immediately get melted while attempting to close the gap and use the sledgehammer. Now, while most think this is meaningless, I try to break as many zip lines as possible on the way to the cash out. It is not only to stall, because when defending every second matters, but also increase the likelihood of them having to use up a gadget charge in order to get to the location, such as a zip line or jump pad, which makes it more likely for them to engage from predictable entry points, such as using the middle jump pad or having to climb the building to get to the roof on the south side, which you will later see them do. Again, I understand that these little habits seem meaningless at face value, but when stacked all together, they start to add up and significantly increase your chances of winning. Now at first I wanted my teammate to winch the cash out outside to the ground level, but sometimes this option may not be the best because when using a sledgehammer, bringing the opposing team into close quarters and minimizing lines of sight at range, especially from above, makes this weapon a lot more lethal. While most average players will use the Dematerializer to flank from adjacent rooms, you can take this a step further by simply listening to the opponent's actions, such as gunfire, utilizing specializations, or gadgets like the sonar grenade. This will allow you to easily single out an opponent, drop them to your level, and quickly eliminate them, which will allow your team to push together and easily team wipe. I'm going to say this over and over again. If you're soloing as a light, you need to be equipping Gateway. It not only provides a ton of utility, such as instant vertical and horizontal movement, but it allows us to quickly get to the cash out right after the vault is finished priming, getting the team to the location faster, and to set up a defense before an opposing team arrives. I've had people in the comments of my previous videos saying, but actually, Gateway is not the best gadget to use, and there are multiple ways to gain verticality. And if you are running with a pre-made team, yes, that is absolutely true. But if you are solo queuing and cannot account for your team's playstyle, or rely on them to use their movement gadgets effectively at the very least, the Gateway is the best way that will compensate for those potential shortcomings. And as you can see here, make the process of getting to each location a lot smoother. Again, when solo queuing, versatility is king when it comes to specializations, gadgets, and weapons. It'll always be better than anything that is niche, being that it will account for the unknown variables. If you are very low on health, it is okay to take a step back and wait for the regeneration to start. You will be no help to your team if you keep engaging and get picked off easily. If you are playing ranked and cannot see whether or not an opponent has been eliminated, this will remove any uncertainty the opposing team has on whether or not you are eliminated, and will increase the likelihood of them pushing unanimously against your remaining teammates, which often leads to a team wipe. My rule of thumb is that when I hit below 50 health, I try my best to retreat, regenerate, and then re-engage. After each engagement while defending the cash out, try to refortify as much as possible to limit the amount of entry points the opposing team can engage from in the attempts to make their strategy a little bit more predictable. All that's left to do is double stack the cash out to guarantee our position in the second round. When challenging for the vault from this spawn, I strongly recommend maintaining height from this angle until you have at least knocked one opponent. I've seen so many players make the mistake of immediately pushing the enemy's position and quickly getting eliminated, leaving the team at a severe disadvantage. At least from here, the player can maintain a decent head glitch with height and continuously pump out huge amounts of damage. If you're using the dematerializer, you always want to look for an off angle, rather than directly pushing with the team, because you have the ability to create flanks or lines of sight that were not originally there, allowing you to pick off an opponent or at the very least split their attention, and give your team a window of opportunity to push amidst the chaos. A lot of players I've seen in gold commonly use the dematerializer as a way of traversing and flanking by removing obstacles on the same plane, but very rarely use it to create pathways or angles above or beneath them, so always keep these options in mind before engaging. It'll bring your gameplay with the DMAT to another level. For those of you that don't already know, when running up the stairs, you don't want to take the traditional method. Climbing it like I am here is the fastest way to get where you're going. Again, making a habit of minimizing entry points and fortifying the cash out location. Fortunately though, we didn't have a team push us, and this cash out went by easily. When defending a vault at this location, I like to do it from the staircase. It provides angles for 2 entry points and allows me to minimize damage by going to the second level if things get dicey. Utilizing sound and deductive reasoning, I know that the player above me is using the healing beam, and if they are a competent player, they will most likely be healing in the back of the room to minimize damage taken. So with that information, it is highly likely that the player I'm looking for is somewhere in the back of the room right above me. Which goes without saying, when using the dematerializer, audio is one of the most underrated variables when it comes to locating opponents above or beneath you. Again, here I'm using a combination of sound and the sonar grenade to locate the opposing team. I also wanted to mention, if you demat the floor beneath you and you find out that there is more than one opponent, always try to fire at the opponent in the back rather than the one in the front, because it will lower the chance of both players immediately noticing you, and in turn minimize the amount of damage taken, allowing you to easily pick one off before engaging the next. In the final round, as you guys already know, I don't really like to switch things up if something's working. For me, I prefer to leave it as is and try to avoid fixing what's not broken. Unfortunately, we got the spawn that was furthest from the vault, which on this map gives the opposing team an advantage, being able to immediately take height, and because it is in close proximity to the cache out, making it difficult to initially obtain the vault after it is finished priming. So in this case, time is of the essence, and positioning yourself before the opposing team is able to notice you is of the utmost importance. From experience, a lot of teams like to set up on the portion of the roof right next to the staircase, meaning the next course of action for me would be to position myself on the staircase and wait for the distraction my teammates will soon provide, in order to capitalize on it. Sounds messed up to say, but sometimes as a solo player, you have to use your teammates as bait in order to create an opening from the distraction. This can either be while the opposing team is in the middle of firing, or stop firing in order to recover from damage, and as you can see, leads them straight to me. Unfortunately, here I got a little bit aggressive and pushed out too far, without any information on the opposing team's location, and I certainly got punished for it. With that being said, a little bit of patience and information will take you a long way when pushing the cash out. This is even more important when solo queuing, because even the tiniest mistakes can lead to harsh consequences in the final round. Again here, fortifying the location and removing potential entry points. And that wraps things up for this tournament. Tomorrow I'll be releasing a video on how to utilize the healing beam as a solo queuer and exactly what to prioritize, as well as giving you all an opportunity to win another 5 $10 multi-buck codes. So stay tuned for that, you don't want to miss it. If this video helped you out in some way, shape, or form, please smash that like button. And also subscribe for all things the finals. Peace and love guys, and I'll see you in the arena.